and I can see it's visible. So, welcome to the Africa STEM Summit, day one of the summit. My name is bin Amin Hussein. I'll be taking you through building responsive applications with Bootstrap. I have a couple of slides, then we will go down to the practical bit of how we build these things. So, what is responsiveness? What is responsiveness? Why is it that we have to do this thing called responsiveness? So responsiveness is the ability of a website to dynamically adjust its layout, content, and functionalities based on characteristics of the device and screen sizes of the device being used. So you have found yourself in websites whereby you had to scroll to the far right side of the phone, going to the area where it's not even visible on the screen to just try and view a certain content. So responsiveness is whereby your layout or your functionalities adjust based on the different screen sizes. So why is it that we need responsiveness? Why is it that we need responsiveness? Can't the users just use the website the way we built it? What is wrong with scrolling? So scrolling will affect your website in terms of the number of people that come to view your website, the number of people that come to use your website. First, uh, the first thing is responsiveness improves enhances user experience. That would mean a user will stay there for longer and they might come back. There are websites whereby you'll just get there and within 3 to 5 seconds you're gone, and anytime you ever see that link again, they're not seeing you. uh, you won't even access the website. The second part is accessibility. The second reason why we need SEO is accessibility, which is whereby when your screen is responsive and you have screen readers, you get you get some kind of inclusiveness whereby all kinds of people can use your website because it is compatible with screen readers. It becomes easier. The third thing is you get SEO benefits. So google has a way of Google has a way of favoring mobile friendly websites or mobile friendly applications compared to the other. So you get better SEO, and you also get a broader audience reach because everybody has a phone nowadays. Everybody has smartphones. You- You'll rarely find yourself waiting to go to the cyber so that you can use the computer, or opening your laptop so that you can Google a simple thing or just access a simple website. So as a business, if your website is not responsive, you're the one to lose, and you really don't want to do that. So here comes Bootstrap. During the weekend, there is this impressive thing that happened with Manchester City, Tottenham, and Arsenal at the same time. And Stefan Ortega turned out to be the savior of the day. So Stefan Ortega against Son Heung-min, he saved the day. So that is what Bootstrap is to us. So Bootstrap saves us from the hassle of writing responsive applications. It makes it very easy to achieve the layout that adjusts to different screen widths. So what is Bootstrap? Bootstrap is a powerful and a widely used front-end framework that simplifies the process of building responsive and mobile-first websites and web application. The word here is mobile-first website and web applications. Uh, it was built by Twitter. Bootstrap was built by Twitter. So, what does our Ortega do for us? Manchester City's Ortega stretched his leg and saved the day. What does our Ortega do for us? So, so the key features that come with Bootstrap are a responsive grid system, pre-styled components, customizable themes, and cross-browser compatibility. I'll go through the first three as I introduce it practically. But basically what cross-browser compatibility means is your website will work with any any browser. You can use Safari on it, you can use Chrome, you can use Brave, whichever browser that you use with it, it will take it in. So let's get to the nitty-gritties of Bootstrap, basically getting started with the Bootstrap, setting it up, and seeing how it works and the responsive grid. So this is my initial folder structure, which basically has an index.html and a styles.css. At this end, I'll add another file here. Let me call it the steps.txt, which is where I'll be writing the steps and breaking down every single step that that we are working with, that we're doing to achieve our final results. So Bootstrap as every technology that is ever built has its own documentation. Same thing with Bootstrap. So it is very important for a person with whatever software you're creating or whatever software you're using, work with the documentation. So when it comes to Bootstrap, we also have the Bootstrap documentation, which has majority of the things explained here: how to set it up, how to set it up with either JavaScript, or to set it up with Vite, the different layouts, the customizations, the different contents and forms, and etc. So the first thing that we are going to do here is to connecting our project with Bootstrap. There are two ways to do this. The first one is to use a CDN link to connect your project with Bootstrap, and the second method is to use an import to import Bootstrap into your project. So I'll work with the first one, which is connecting the CDN because it's easier to use. So when you go to the documentation and click on the introduction bit, you'll get a quick start template, which basically shows you what your HTML looks like right now, which is exactly what I have. So if you look at this HTML, it has the most basic part, the HTML. It has the header, the head and the body, and the title. That is it, the title within the body. So when you are including Bootstrap into your project, there are two things that you need to add to your basic, let me call it boilerplate, HTML boilerplate. The first one is the CDN link, which comes just the same way you'll connect a CSS to your, just the same way you'll connect a CSS to your HTML is the same way you'll connect a Bootstrap to your HTML using the link element. So I have copied the link element right here, and I'll take it right after my title. I can also connect my styles.css. I can also connect my styles.css. It should also have a href, which should be the link to my CSS file. Then I should also add a relationship, which should be style sheet. Nice. So when you go to that documentation and look at the boilerplate again, when I go to the documentation and look at the boilerplate again, I have a script right here under body. So this script is what will bring in the JavaScript part of Bootstrap. Remember, we have the CSS part of Bootstrap, which basically means the different styling, the colors of the button, how they are structured. Then we have things like hovering, things like that are interactive. The things that are interactive have to come with the script tag. So the script tag is what is we will need to achieve that. So the script tags comes right after the body part right here. The reason it comes here is to improve the loading time of our application. Otherwise, if we had our script tag up here, we can have it here, but it will reduce the time it takes to load, the time it takes for our applications, for our application to load. So we have to add it here. Based on my slide, based on the slide that I had mentioned that Bootstrap gives us some of the following, which is a responsive grid system, a pre-styled component, customizable themes. So we'll start with the responsive grid. The idea is by the end of my talk here at Africa STEM Summit, we should be able to have something, such a design, but all based on Bootstrap. All should be based on Bootstrap. So from my design, I'll start with this hero section right here. So basically where we have our introduction and we have our paragraph with our introduction too. So we have the name of our website, then we have an introduction. So that brings me to the grid system, the Bootstrap's grid system. So Bootstrap's grid system works with three Bootstrap components. The three Bootstrap components, So the second step should be the grid system. It works with three different components. The first one is the container. The second one being the row, and the third one being the column. So there is a way the three of them must relate. There is a way the three of them must relate for you to achieve whatever you want, for you to achieve responsiveness. So the first thing that I will want to do is, based on the design that I currently have here, based on this design, I want to create this whole bit all the way from here. I should have locked it. It's locked. Oh, from here all the way to this end, just this part, the hero section. So to create the hero section using Bootstrap, we have to initiate a layout that will work with the two different sections that are next to each other. So the two different sections that are next to each other have to be enclosed within a container. So I'll create a simple div here, and this div will have a class container. It should be class container. So my class container will be what will be holding the hero section, which basically includes the first bit where I have the Africa STEM Summit, then the other part where I have the lorem is ipsum text. So ideally, if I look at it, I have two different parts. So this is the first part, and this is the second part. I need to divide my container so that it has two different sections. So the sections, when it comes to Bootstrap, the sections are introduced using row. The sections are represented using row. So I'll have a row that will represent the two sections together. Then I'll divide them into columns. So the container will represent the whole bit. The container will represent the whole bit. Then I have a row that will represent the two sections as one. So within the two sections, I'll have a column, one. Then I'll also have another div here with a column. So I have the two columns, the column on the right and the column on the left. To edit the column on the right, have, let me load my page to see our initial results. So this is what we currently have at this point. Let me switch this to a H2 so that it responds. H2. So this is what I currently have. For the second column here, I'll have a paragraph with lorem ipsum, which is just some dummy text. So if I load my port again, let me see what I have. it in the browser. So right here, I have the local host link. So the reason for having the two columns is to achieve the current division that I have. So I have managed to divide my section, I have managed to divide my page in a way that I have the two different parts of my application, which is the Africa STEM Summit. Then I also have the Lorem Ipsum on the right. The idea is within this container, within this row, you have columns. And those columns have a maximum amount, these rows have a maximum amount of columns. So you have to divide your columns in a way that it fits your decision. So based on what I needed, or what I needed was two sections, a section on the right and a section on the left. Using the columns, I have managed to add column 1 and column 2. To make it a bit more clearer, let me divide these columns into medium columns or medium numbered. So I can have them as 6, column medium 6 and column medium 6 too. So basically what column medium 6 means is it will take 6 of the whole 12. The row, if you add a class row to a div, it automatically has 12 columns. It automatically has 12 columns. So by adding the column 6 to, I have, we reduce it to 6 and get rid of the medium. So by just having the two columns the way they are, I have managed to have divided the number of columns that come with the row, which is 12. I managed to divide it into two. The first one is the 6, which is by default takes 6, and this by default take 6. So that allows me to achieve the first part of my style. So whatever I have here is a container. So this container right here, I can add more classes to it to improve its styling. I can add more properties to it to improve its styling. For example, I can have it here with a background of danger. So the background of danger will give me color red. So based on the documentation that we have, if I just come here and search for background color, I get access to different properties that give me different colors for what I need. So if I need a background color that is either blue, or I need a background color that is gray, there are different names for it. The blue will be for the BG primary will be for light blue. BG primary saddle will be for navy blue. We have BG secondary, which is gray, and a whole lot. We have so many colors. They actually added a lot more colors. So I'll use BG body tertiary for this part of my application. So BG body tertiary. So now that I have achieved now that using the grid system, I have achieved this view with on my computer, which is a very wide screen compared to my phone. Let's see what this will look like in different screens. So I have an extension here that allows me to view the different items on a screen. So this is how it will appear on a mobile phone. All contents visible. This is what it will appear on an iPad. All contents are visible, and this is also how it would appear on a Microsoft Surface Duo. So with different screens, I can test for how my screen will look like with different screens. Let's go back to our original. So when it comes to containers, we have two options. If you look at this container right here, you can see there is a difference between, there is a space in between the items on my page and the screen width. So the screen width is very far from the items on my screen. So all this is brought by whatever I have added here as container. If I need a different view whereby my items are or next to my screen width, I'll just add fluid. So container fluid right here will allow me to move my items, to expand my items all the way to the right side of the screen and the screen. So let's see how this will look like on a mobile phone. It still looks the same. Oh, my Bootstrap is connected. Ah, it is. So I have two columns right here, which will represent the first two sections of my application. For me to continue with my design here, I'll come back to the editings. For me to continue with my design, I'll come to the first section. Then I have this second section right here. So this second section is more or less the same as the first section, but you will have to present it within the same container. Now the container that we have here, the container fluid that we have here, which is this div, will hold everything that I have within my page. So if I need the second part of my page, I'll add another row here, and this particular row should contain the three columns that I have on my design. So it should be column 1, first column, column 2, and column 3. Column 3. Okay, so column 1, I'll add it as 1. Then column 2, I'll label it as 2, just to see the distinctions. Then column 3, I'll add it as 3, just to see how they appear on the screens. So if this is our initial design, you can see I have managed to divide the three sections. I have managed to divide this three sections within a column. And if you think of it, and if you are familiar with CSS, for you to achieve this, you'll need to do a flex. And that flex usually comes with a lot of keenness. You need to be very keen for you to achieve this with Flexbox. But with Bootstrap, with only a single property added, with only a single value attribute added to the class, which is column, it allows me to get that grid. So let's see how it will look like on a mobile view. Interesting. Column MD6. I have this as MD. Have this as MD3, and also have this as MD3. Okay, so the second part was intentional to just explain how it will behave when it comes to dividing the total number of columns that we have. So the total number of columns that we have by default is 3. So a row will have 12 columns. Sorry, a row will have 12 columns. So with whatever design that you want to achieve, it is advisable for you to divide the number of columns that you'll have within your row to a maximum of 6. To a maximum of 6. So that is what I have here. I have the first one as 6, then the second one as 3, and the third one as 3. This causes my page to divide in a way that the first one that was given 6 will take half of the page all the way to this point here. Then the second two items will divide the second 6 into 2 and use them. So this is 3 and this is 3. And on the right side, I have one that is complete at 6. So based on the design that you want to achieve, if you want something that has the two items on the far left, if you want the two items on the far left, you can give them 1 1 1 1 and 6. So this one should take the rest, which is 10. If now I go back to my design here, yeah. So on reloading, you can see the first item will take up 10 of the 12 columns that we have. Then the second items will have 1 1. So based on your own design, you can get to divide your row into different sections. So, and based on my design, I think I had, it will be 4 4 4 4 4 and 4. So let me see what I have on reloading. Now they're divided correctly, and on the mobile view, it will still break into, in terms of block. It will take the block design instead of taking the flex design. So for the styling, I'm going to have an image here, another image here for my second item, and for my third item I'll also have an image. Okay. So that was for the two sections. I'll come back to styling them all once I have achieved my final results. Let me add alts for these images to make sure they are visible. Image 1, image 2, and image 3. And image 3. Okay, so I do have the image 1, image 2, and image 3 visible. I'll add the images with later. So just to recap on the purpose of the first two sections, the purpose of the first two sections is to show us the grid that Bootstrap, the grid capabilities that Bootstrap gives us. Within a single container, you can have as many rows as you want. You can have as many rows as you want within a single container. Within a row, you can have as many columns as you want to, but the maximum number of columns that you can achieve with this is 12. You can have them as 12, 1, 1, 1, 1 per column, or you can have them as 12, 1 with 12 columns, and it will just give you one single item. You get to design you get to achieve the different you get to achieve a layout that has different items and it's flexed. Furthermore, the fact that the rows and the row containers, columns, and rows are connected, it gives you the power to it gives you the flexibility when it comes to different screen sizes. So when you move to a different screen size, the just because you have the container, the column, and the row, you get to achieve a mobile friendly view. Less of media query and more of working on your project. So the other thing that I'd love to introduce to this party the navbar, which I have in this part of my application. So we have a navbar that has a logo, a home page, a home link, an about link, a blogs list, and FAQs. So when you go to the Bootstrap official documentation, you'll see already built up components. You get already set up components where if you choose to copy the actual component, it's okay. And if you choose to get that component and customize it based on what you see fit, which is also an advantage, and it saves you a lot of time. So when you go to the documentation and the different components, so these are the components. So under the different components, you'll get different things that come with Bootstrap. We have buttons, we have badges, breadcrumbs, etc. So what I need is a navbar. So if I come to the navbar component, where is my component? If I come to the section under components and I look at the navbar, so basically what I get is a documentation that is filled with how to use this part of Bootstrap, which includes different classes that allow you to achieve different behaviors with your navbar. So you can choose to copy the already built up navbar component and add it to your application if you wish to, then customize it. There are so many, there are a number. So these are the different types of navbars that you can use for your application. So let's work on ours by introducing different parts to our different classes to our navbar. So within the container fluid, the container that houses my whole project, I want my navbar to be there. So if I look at my design, here is my design. So if I look at my design, I have the navbar up here, which is in line with the rest of my other container, with the rest of my other rows, all of them under the same container. So basically what I'll need here is to add another row up here that will house my navbar. So my navbar, just like any HTML navbar that you can initiate using nav. So within this nav, I want to have two sections. The first section is where I have my logo. Then the second section is where I have my links. So based on the design that I have here, so I have this logo, which is one section, and I also have this other part, which is the second section. So looking at what I need to do right now, I need to divide the two parts into two different sections. So I'll do a div for both of them. So a div, label this as a container because I still want the division from within the navbar. So I'll have this as a class container. Let me add it as container fluid. One advantage with the grid is that you can nest as many as you want. So for example, if you have a container, if you have a column here, we can have another column rise up from within this particular column. Then we can also have that column here having that container having different columns, as many as you want still, but it will take 100% of the width of the original column. So which is the width of this original column. So now that I have this part, I need to divide the two items here. So the first item should be a different div. Let me have this with a comment here as logo. So this is the div that will house my logo. Then I have a div here that will house my links. So this is the div that will house my links, and this is the div that will house my logo. So let's work on the logo first. So I want to have, the first thing that I want to have is an anchor tag right here. So this anchor tag should lead to nowhere for now. Then it should have something like st. So the second item is I want to have a button here. This button should only be visible whenever we are viewing it on a smaller screen. By the end of the creation of the navbar component, you'll see the final results. So this button right here should have the following classes. So it should have the following classes. The following is the first one is navbar, a property called navbar toggler. So this navbar toggler is what will allow us to toggle whenever a certain button is clicked. It should have a type. So type is type button. It should also have a few items that allow us to for us to achieve that interactiveness, which is data BS, it comes with Bootstrap 2, database target, it should be Navbar support, yeah, something like that. We have another one here having it as data BS toggle. This one should tell it to collapse whenever it's touched. Collapse. Okay. So within my button here, I want to have a span which will have the logo of, which will have the item that will be displayed whenever I break down my screen, whenever I view it in a different screen size. So I want it to have, it should have a span with a class. So the class should be navbar toggler icon, navbar toggler icon, which is also a CSS class that comes with our page. So let's see what we have up to this point on our page. Let me add the links before I continue. It should be a UL with an LI, 1, 2, and 3. 2 and 3. Okay, so let's see what we have on our page. 1, 2, and 3. I haven't styled them, but let me see what I have when I go to the mobile view. Huh. Not there yet. Let me copy a couple of classes from the documentation and add them to my button right here. So area control and support and type button, mostly everything that I have. But I have now currently have area control, area extended. So for the first part, which is the button, let me remove this div here. Then the second part, which is the button that holds the link, I want it to be spaced. I want it to have a margin, basically having them as I have them on this design, sending them to the right side of the navbar and allowing the navbar to be on this side alone. So to achieve that using Bootstrap, you'll also need a number of classes. So if I have a div item, I'll just add a class. Then this class will take the following: a collapse, which is the same as the other one, which is whatever I had added up here for the logo. A collapse, then a navbar collapse. An ID, it comes with an ID, which is navbar support content, supported content. Yeah, navbar supported content. Any other class that I need for that? Nah. So for my UL right here, I need to identify it as part of the nav. So I'll have a class that has navbar, nav. So this nav, this property right here tells the browser that whatever items are within here are part a nav section of the whole navbar that we have. So just a nav section of the whole navbar that we have. So let's put it at the center, which is margin auto, to have it placed with the different spaces. We have a margin bottom of 2, and we'll also have a margin bottom of large 3 for different 0 for different screens. So for each item that we have, let me get rid of this. We'll have an anchor tag. So this anchor tag is basically what allows us to create links with HTML. So these anchor tags will be what will be housing our 1s, 2s, and 3s. So here we just send it to nowhere to for now, then have it with a class right here. So so the UL should okay a little bit here. So I need a class here that will identify this as a nav item. So it should be a nav item. So for each of them, let me reuse this particular link with this particular li to achieve that. So this one should be 1, this one should be 2, and this one should be 3. So nav item, we get rid of this class for now. Or let me have it as nav link for now. Nav link. Have them as nav link. Okay. To review, what I have done is I have the container that will hold my navbar, and the container has 2 different parts. The first part, which is the part where it will hold our logo, and the second part is where we have a div that will have the rest of our property based on our design. So let's see our final results. Interesting. So the div should have class navbar collapse. Navbar front. I should have pre-recorded. Button type. have a toggle icon immediately after the button, within the button. Let me see what I have right now. So we have container fluid. This container fluid has a row. Within the row, we have our nav, which has a nav bar extended, which should be ATS. So this one should be responsible for tagging our product. So let me get rid of this link right here. So basically what I've done is I've gone to the original documentation and uplifted a navbar. I customize it based on the different items that I need. Then display it. Okay, let me see what we have right now on the design. So I have the logo, then I have the home and the link. So by trying to view it on a mobile view, this is what I was looking for. So when I have a logo that I have created using Bootstrap, it becomes responsive whenever we need it, in a mobile view or whenever we need it in any other device. So if the device is small screened, it will automatically respond by giving you a navbar that isn't very hard to use whenever you're using that particular application. So I'm missing several parts. So let me call it this as our link number 2, then add this margin to auto. Did I enclose it within the right row? Oh, I was missing a row. Let me get rid of the row. All right. Okay, so this is what I currently have, a navbar that is responsive, and I currently have the grid. So for the images, when you're working with images and media with Bootstrap, you also have several options when it comes to styling the different images. Let me see one. So when you go to the official documentation under content, you'll see images. So we have it's very difficult to use CSS with images. it's very difficult. It brings you a lot of problems because most of the time you'll find the image is oversized, or whenever there is a small screen, the image does not adhere to the screen. So when it comes to Bootstrap and you're dealing with images, we have things like image fluid, which is a class that you add to your image that allows your image to take 100% width of the original container. So in our case, we need to have our images 1, 2, and 3. So our images need to take up 100% of these containers. They shouldn't be smaller, they shouldn't be larger. So to achieve that, let me add these images within, let me add these images. Within the assets folder. Development. Okay. So from my VS Code, I think I do have the image now. I add it inside the assets folder. Okay, so I have my image right there inside the assets folder, and I'll be adding it to the last part of our page, which is under the container, which is under each column. So to access each image, I'll just access it from the assets folder and add the image. Same thing here, assets folder, then add the image. Same thing here, assets folder, then I'll add the image. Let me see what I have right now. You can see the images that I have, they don't adhere to the page and the way it should look like. So if, for example, I style my class, if I style my container here, so I have my container here, take this container to the CSS file, then add a styling for this particular container. I want it to have a width of let me say 50%. So if I give it a width of 50%, what I expect is I expect my containers to be smaller, but they can't be small because, yeah, you can see they can't be smaller because they'll be taking 50% of the original width. So that breaks our original definition, our original explanation of what the columns and rows do together. So a whole row has 12 columns. So if we surpass, so if this takes 50%, that means this is taking 6, this is taking 6, and this is taking 6. So I'll need to reduce that at this point. CSS file, reduce it to something like 20%. But they tend to be bigger than the actual container. So I need to have spaces on the right and on the left side of this particular section of my page. So this is what I have currently. Yeah, it does take the correct amount. So to improve on our images, improve on our images, there is a class that comes with it. So this particular class allows the image to take 100% of the whole container that is housing it. 100% of the whole container that is housing it. So it should be image fluid. Image fluid. Now let me see what we have on our page. Not much of a difference. Add it to all of them. Class image fluid. Another one with a class image fluid to the image. Image fluid. Okay. So if I go to my page right now by just giving them the image fluid, you'll see all of them take 100% of our original container. So they take 100% of our 100% of our column. That is 100% of our column. So this is column MD4. The image will take 100% of the column MD4, which is what we have given it here as 20%. These rows and columns are MD4. I need to reduce at least one for each of them, have them as 333. Have them as 333 so that I'll be able to get the spacing on the right side and on the left side of this particular row. So I have a column. I'll add a column here. This column will be empty with an MD1. So this is where this div ends. So this div ends here. So just have another div here with a column MD1. So this should give me the correct spacing on the right side of my application and on the left side of on the right side of my column and on the left side of my columns. So it gets perfect spacing. So if I view this on a mobile view, they are now not next to each other. They now become as a block. And whenever I use the container fluid, when we move to smaller screens, the fluid part of it is not recognized. It automatically takes the container is not recognized. It takes up fluid, so it will have no spaces on the right and then on the left side of the row. So this is what we achieve. So let's get into some styling for the first part here. So this first part, I want it to be in the middle. So when you're dealing with text, so if you look at it the way I am looking at it, if we want to style this part, if you want to style the first part of our application, which is the hero section right here, we'll be dealing a lot with text, which is more of typography. So we will need to implement using Bootstrap with typography. Excuse me for a minute. Nice. So for this part of our application right here, I want us to have it a bit spaced. So I want us to have it a bit spaced, and I also want the content right here to come to the center of the page. So for me to achieve that, when we're dealing with CSS, there is this thing called the box model, so which is basically padding, margin, and borders, which is whereby the difference padding is whatever is in between the border and the content. So if we have an imaginary border here, we have the content that we have here, which is a couple of headers. So these couple of headers will represent the content. Then we have an imaginary border difference, the space between the imaginary border and the content is what we call the padding. So to improve on how my design looks, I need to add a lot of padding. So I need to add padding. There are, just like what we have with just like what we have with, if we have Flexbox, we also have an alternative of Flexbox with Bootstrap. The same thing with margin. So when it comes to breakpoints, let me look at breakpoints of a certain layout. We have different levels of breakpoints. We have the small, medium, large, extra large, and extra large. But what we actually need is the margin. Oh, so that was supposed to be part of spacing under utilities. Okay. So if we want different margins, maybe we want whatever we have on that page to be centered, to be at the center of our application. We'll use the same idea. We want to, whatever content we have within our page here, to be displayed at the center of our application. So first things first, I will enclose this within a div so that we can work on them as a unit. A div. So this div right here should have a margin auto. This one should be margin bottom. So margins are denoted using MX auto. So for me to achieve that, I need to have it as MX auto, then reduce its width using the style. Style, have the width of this. No. Let me just have it in this manner. Mix auto. I'll add padding for this one. Then we have margins for this one. Then we have a class with margin for this one, then padding for the other one. The padding of 2. All right, let me see what we have. Not what I was expecting to see. So for the row, the row is what is holding most of it. So let me give this row a padding of something like 6. Interesting. Use CSS, give it an ID, give it an ID, Control Z, ID, hero 1, then using CSS, select the ID, slash hero 1. So this hero 1 should give me a padding of 50%. Let me give it something like 4%. Okay. Nice. So now we kind of have the design. For tagging. It looks like from a mobile view. Same thing. So when it comes to dealing with different texts, for example, we have the 3 items here. So when it comes to dealing with different texts, the 3 H1s, I want them to not have the same, what should I say, the same size. So I need to implement something known as typography. So basically, typography is whereby we now start dealing with texts and different things that we can do with the text content that is on our page. So we have typography under utilities. Typography right here. So within the actual documentation, we have our normal H1s that we usually have, our normal headers that we usually have, H1 to H6, that allow us to have different fonts for different titles. We can also have faded content, which is a little bit grayish. So by adding text body secondary, we can also have them as display. I think I'll add the display ones. They look very neat. Then you can have our H1 having, we can have our paragraph having the class lead. So our paragraph on this other end, right here, can have class lead. Then we can have our H2 here having display, having a class display. The original part of the documentation. Didn't really work the way I wanted it, but you can see the text of our paragraph right here is well done. So just to recap on most of the things that we have done using our step.txt file. So the first thing is we introduced Bootstrap and Bootstrap and the alternatives of Bootstrap. So the second thing was to connect our project with Bootstrap. So if you're familiar with the React and either Vue.js, I think I have met one for React. I've not met one for Vue, but what I know is there is a React Bootstrap, a package that is just a package that just allows you to do to do Bootstrap with React. We have looked at our grid system whereby we have containers, rows, and columns, and containers. Our containers can handle as many rows as we want. If you look at what I have done here, I have a container that has 12, but you can divide the 12 as much as you want. You can divide them into 8, 2, however you want, but the golden rule is that it should not surpass 12. We have also looked at the images when it comes to displaying our images. We work with normal images, but when we need them to adhere to different, we need them to work with the containers that we place them in. We use classes like contain image fluid. So image fluid will allow your item to be 100% immersed into the container that you housed it in. So up to that point, if has any questions, I'd be happy to take any questions. So the extension that I am using is called Mobile Simulator. You can see there is a question on the chat. The extension is called Mobile Simulator, and it will allow you to view the different screens. Any questions? In 3, 2, 1. Nice one. That is where I'll end my session. I'm not seeing a moderator here. So the moderator is not here.
Hello, hi, can you hear me? Hello, hi, Bin, can you hear me?
Africa STEM Summit. I can see you have joined me on the stage. Kindly
Yeah.
take over.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I think there is an echo. Sorry for that. I don't know why I feel like I can hear myself twice. I hope you guys have had a great session. I was following along as well. Thank you. Sorry, I'm really trying to find where the other audio is coming from. I don't know if it's this. Okay, it's okay. I'll just finish through the conversation. So thank you so much for the session. Um, Thank you so much for the session. Um, I really appreciate you being able to make time to come here. So, we have dropped the speaker link to his LinkedIn in the chat section, I mean, in the description section. Go ahead and follow him, go ahead and engage him on the topic so that you can become a more vast with Bootstrap, responsiveness. Good job, Bin. I truly appreciate your time and your efforts. So have a nice afternoon. Afternoon. We will meet from 2 to 4. Which session is that? Let me just confirm. We will be having a session on making your work easier with Vue.js composables. So let us meet at from 2 to 4 on that particular topic. We'll see you. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.